Hello and welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. My name is William Hemsworth. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Well, we continue on in Matthew chapter 10, and if you're new to the Daily Bible, we go verse by verse through the Bible. We don't skip any verses at all. We started December 1st with Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. We're going to continue through the New Testament, then we're going to go into the Old Testament, go verse by verse through there. So no verse is skipped, all the hard ones are covered. So here we go, we're going to look at Matthew chapter 10, verses 24 and 25, which say, "A disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the disciple to be like his teacher, and the servant like his master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign those of his household?" I think today's verses are very important. Jesus is telling his disciples, in the previous verses, starting in Matthew 10 verses 16, Jesus is sending his disciples out to preach to the house of Israel. And he tells them that there will be persecution. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. It was basically a promise that Jesus was giving them. And so today's verses are a continuation to that. Jesus has faced persecution because of his public ministry. The teachers of the law, are trying to set him up. The teachers of the law, we read this word in verse 25 today, Beelzebul, which means the prince of demons. They called Jesus the prince of demons when he was casting out demonic spirits, saying, he casts out demons because he's the prince of demons. Things like that. He's telling his disciples, they've called me these things. They will call you those things as well. The servant is not above his master. And so, Beelzebul was a Philistine god worshipped at Ekron in 2 Kings chapter 1, verses 2 through 16. And it translates loosely to something like Prince Baal, which was a well-known god of the Canaanites in the Old Testament. Now the Jews, during Jesus' time, changed its name to mock him. They changed it to Lord of the Flies or Lord of Dung, because he's a false god. In the Gospels, like we just talked about briefly, it refers to Satan, the prince of demons. So for us today, Jesus says, a disciple is not above his teacher. If Christ went through all these things, guys, it doesn't mean we're immune from them. It doesn't mean we're immune from people calling us names. It doesn't mean that we're immune from hard times. No matter what someone may tell you, Christ was crucified. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be crucified, but we will face hard times, and we will face persecution at some point. Paul pretty much guarantees that in the letter to 1 Timothy. So because you may be going through something hard, it doesn't mean that you've done something wrong. It doesn't mean that God doesn't love you. If you're experiencing a hardship because of your faith, it's because of your faith. You're being conformed to Christ. Christ said that it will happen if you are truly one of his followers. So take heart in that. God bless you. Thank you for joining me on this edition of the Daily Bible Podcast. As always, if you have questions, comments, prayer requests, please email me at hopewithin18@gmail.com. Other than that, I ask that you share the episode if it's helped you in some way. God bless you guys. Have a great day.